You ready? Happy Wise Women's Wednesdays, everyone. Come on in. The water is fine. That's what I say. Come on in. We got a lot of rain going on here today, and that's just how it is. I see one, too. There's Kayla. Hi, Kayla. Good to see you. Kayla is one of our students at NutriCoach. If you don't know what NutriCoach is, go check out NutriCoachSchool.com. This is where I teach people how to do some pretty cool things with cooking and nutrition and have a career. There's my friend Diane and Jamma. Good to see you. Is it raining down in Easley too? I bet. Sandy, thanks for dropping in for a bit. Oh dear. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well. They've got rain in Richmond, Indiana. I think we've got rain everywhere. Good afternoon, Barbara. Marianne, look at everybody just streaming in. Hello, Vanessa from Dallas. Yes, she's getting the rain too. It is just socked in. If I showed, my lovely view is completely obliterated by clouds. This is one of the things about living on top of a mountain. You get the clouds. So, are you guys sharing all of this? Sharing is caring. This is how we make things happen, y'all. We're going to talk about some really fun stuff today. And of course your garden is loving this. How can an herb garden not say yes to rainy weather? Loves it. Yes. We all need rainy weather, don't we? Just need, sometimes we all need to hydrate every single day. Every single day. So this week it's Wednesday, first of all. Let's just start there. And Friday, you know what Friday is, right? Friday is our Q&A day. And right now I have one question. It never happens like this, but here it is. I have one question. Oh, Susan, I know you are getting some snow in Colorado. It was 8 degrees. We saw that from Leah, Mark's daughter, and she sent a little picture of her dashboard. Very cold. Hi, Roberta. Good to see you. Welcome back. Roberta's daughter got married this weekend, so she's been a busy camper. Also a grad from NutriCoach. So check out NutriCoach School and you can see what everybody's up to. It's pretty fun. Hello, Brenda. Good to see you. All right, let's get started because, it's Wise Women's Wednesday, and this is my favorite day. I love this topic because becoming wise is something I think that we all have right on our radar screen. So let's give a little application first and talk about what wisdom is. Well, the beginning of understanding is of wisdom is understanding, right? You hear that in the Bible. But let me just tell you that Seth Godin had something really good to say, and we talked about this, I believe, on Monday. I think that was Monday. And it was about measurements and how we need to not be afraid of the numbers, but instead confront them because numbers are starting places and it gives us a plumb line on where to go. And it also gives us this is how you're doing as we go along. But again, the wisdom in measurement is the wisdom in a lot of numbers. Is collecting the data, not just one thing. That's why the scale can absolutely obliterate our self-esteem. And it's only one teeny tiny measurement. And sometimes it doesn't even reflect exactly what's going on because there are things going on inside of you that cannot reflect on the scale. And we have to remember that. And I wrote a little post about that today in, I think it was the Sprint group, but I'm not sure. But let's talk about what Seth Godin had to say, which I think is really critical and important. Whoop! If you measure it, it will improve. You know why? What happens when you measure something is that it puts it now on your radar screen. You now see it. You're now very cognizant of what's going on. And the way I keep my measurements is here. I put a little clip. You can see the little clip on where I am. And I track what I'm eating. I track what I have, what my measurements are, what my weight is. And it's pretty, this is pretty exciting. I just took a glance at over the weeks and I have lost, since the 7th, I've lost 5 pounds. I didn't even realize that until I looked at it. So this gives you a record. And this, by the way, I use Marla's little flying calendar thingy, the little mini calendar. because it is super convenient, fits right into your purse, your backpack, whatever. And plus they're on sale right now for $9.95, so grab one. This is like my go-to. I love it. And it's small. I don't need massive. I have the big calendar for other things, but the little mini one, it's small and does the trick. Wise women are also aware that, sometimes eating can get out of control. And I will have a whole session in our Hot Milk Club on binge eating, because binge eating has something that, while maybe some of us aren't in an entire binge mode, most of us have binged. And there are stopgaps that we can do in order to stop that. So if you are part of the Hot Milk Club, just know that every single Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we meet in the clubhouse right here on Facebook. And I'm going to do a Facebook Live and give you all that information. That information is really critical and important, because these are things that we put into our inventory, if you will, of wise things to do. Because sometimes we just get caught. Is this right? Tell me if this is you. Have you ever been caught into a cycle of the carousel of crazy, around and around, up and down, and it's just like nowhere to go? If you've been caught in that, then you understand exactly what it is, because there's familiar places going, familiar things that we keep doing. And we have to stop that nonsense. We have to redirect the bus, so to speak, so that we don't go down that road again. And one of the things that we can do is become a better understanding person. Susan, if you need to join our sprint. I haven't seen you in the sprint. And most people I know, even though we have like 1,800 people, most people I know there. So go to savingdinner.com/sprint. The sprint starts Monday. It's a great way for you to start. And this is a great way to unplug the carousel of crazy. It gets you started. It clears the decks. It deals with inflammation. It deals with bad habits. It deals with addictions, for heaven's sakes. And I have seen the evidence from all the people that have been through it, and it's 100% free. savingdinner.com/sprint. You'll get right there. You will get your copy, 18 pages of the sprint. Now, don't let that freak you out. The sprint is very simple, but there's 18 pages explaining what intermittent fasting is, how to do it. There's 18 pages explaining what the inflammation factor, showing you the recipes and how to do it. How to do it, because that's one of the most important things that you can do. Okay? It's one of the most critical things that you can do. So keep that in mind. I need you, by the way, to get started on it now, even though we don't start till Monday, because you have to plan for it. Wise women plan. This is Wise Women's Wednesdays. We plan. And we also share. And Christine Tatich, I think is her last name. Sorry, Christine, if I'm butchering it. She's usually here. She won our Saving Dinner for the Holidays book. Yay! There it is. Now, here's what I want you to do, Christine. I want you to send an email to support@savingdinner.com and send me your address so I can send this lovely book to you. And I think, next week we'll probably be doing another holiday book. I don't know. I have to go through my stash, my inventory, because I do have a lot of books. But first of all, we are talking about dealing with, we're dealing with our body clutter. We're dealing with bad habits. We're dealing with things that just aren't wise, right? And when you have an understanding, we have a place where we can go. We have a place to start picking out pieces of information that we can put into our own understanding so that we can do things differently. Without that, we're lost. And one of the things that I really advise everybody to do is start here. Our body clutter book has everything in it. It has everything in it for you to understand what's what. The only thing that I ever say is chapter 8 has a lot of nutrition information in there that I'm not exactly over the moon with anymore. Okay? So you got to deal with that. We do have in our ebooks on savingdinner.com, just go to savingdinner.com and right on the right-hand upper part, you can buy the update that updates all the nutrition and all the good information that we now have. But, understand this book was written 14 years ago, but this is the emotional business that a lot of us went through. And I see Brenda and Letha both are going through it and taking the mission seriously. Let me just tell you something. When you start taking the information and applying it into your life, you become a wise woman. The wisdom that it doesn't come from osmosis, it comes from your own doing. You might learn something wise from osmosis by listening and what have you, but you're not going to put it into action and into practice into your life until you understand that just sitting there like an amoeba and expecting it to go into your cells or your one cell or whatever it is, isn't going to work. It won't work. But what will work is the plan if you work it. I love what Bobby said. She said, I'm on my second read and journey through body clutter. There is so many layers of that onion to peel. We're complex. Let's go with that right now. We're all complex. We have the complexity of our souls and of our experience and of our lifetimes and of all the people that are in it. But guess what? When we can deconstruct some of this stuff, we learn to become wise. We learn to become wise, and that's critical and important. So let me give you a couple of things too. And especially if you are Hot Milk Club subscribers, you know that you get a discount on all of our supplements. The store is now open. Now, you might have to refresh the cache on your computer so that it doesn't say out of stock, but everything is getting updated right now. And so let me just say this. We have free shipping. So take advantage of that right now. The free shipping may not last, and it may not last, into November. We shall see. We are right now just now getting started on our new distribution center. So we have free shipping, okay? Grab your stuff and get it done. Get your stuff ordered and let's get it out the door for you. Wise women act on like a deal. So do that. Take care of that. So if you don't see it as updated, it's being worked on right now. And I just want to let you know about that. What else? Don't forget about your Q&As. Friday is always interesting because people send in amazing questions. And I bet you've got one right now. If you have a question, then send it in. support@savingdinner.com. I'll get the question. I will answer it on Friday. Scouts honor. We do 2 fingers. Girl Scouts do. Scouts honor. I promise you. So let's talk right now about being wise, because we have to be aware that wisdom isn't like this innate ability. It's rather a cumulative thing. It's a mishmash of our life experiences, of people that are in our life. It's a mishmash. Okay, say that really fast. It's hard. It's a mishmash too of common sense, sensibility, and even your intuitiveness. It's like this big pot that we get to stir on a regular basis. Have you ever met somebody, I certainly have, who had not a lick of common sense? But smart? Oh my gosh, so smart. But common sense? No such thing, right? When you are lacking common sense, you're really lacking wisdom. Common sense is one of the, I believe, one of the foundational things. And common sense comes to us when we learn from our experience. That's how it works. Commonsensical, if you will, is something that we develop into us, especially if we are cognizant and especially if we are aware. It helps. It makes a difference. So make sure that you are that person, that you have that kind of common sense, because common sense is a building block for wisdom. And wisdom is connected directly to, guess what? Our ego. And egos can be a funny thing, because ego is a good thing in one sense, because it shows that we are aware. It shows that we are connected with who we are. But egotistical, on the other hand, well, we know what that looks like, right? It's out of control. It's having a inflated view of yourself, of your skills, of everything that you are and own. So it's that we can't work on that, but we also have to be in touch and understand enough that our ego does need to be a part of this whole thing, because this is how we make sense of things. This is how we bring ourselves into the equation, and we become empathetic, believe it or not, and compassionate. We feel these things because we've allowed our whole self in. Now, ego isn't a bad thing. Egotistical is the thing we've got to look out for. Ego is an understanding and a sense of knowing who we are. Our egos, our ids, whatever you want to do it. I mean, didn't we all take a psychology class in college, 101? But that is part and parcel of our journey. It's understanding who we are. But lining up with it, we have to, in order to be a part of that, we have to differentiate between ego and egotistical, right? So wisdom is found in a sense, and I'm going to go through like 10 different things, okay? 10 different things that help us to understand our own wisdom, okay? We have 10 things. We have to be observant. We have to be observant. We have to be observant of the things around us, our experiences and things that are happening. We have to look at it, and we have to be considerate of these things. Now, understand the word considerate. Consider. We have to consider, what are the implications of these things? It's not just a matter of being polite, but what are the implications of these things? For example, if you are finding you're doing the same thing over and over again, or encountering experiences that seem to be in this kind of Groundhog's Day loop, there's something that's going on that is attracting that kind of thing. So be observant and be noticing of what is going on. This is, instead of being reflecting, instead of being the kind of person with the knee-jerk reaction, you're instead taking an observant stance. You're using the frontal cortex. That's the brain. That's the wisdom right here. Wisdom should be tattooed across the front of our forehead. Do you understand what I'm saying with that? We have different places that we think within our brain. We've got the brainstem, which basically keeps our eyes blinking and our hearts going. And we also have this frontal cortex, which is a lot more multi-layered. And we can live off of our brainstem and just be constantly overreacting and knee-jerking our life, going through our entire life. But if we do that, we're going to find ourselves in a whole lot of trouble a whole lot of times. We don't have to be. I find it very, very wise to just sit back and just give it a minute before talking, because that gives your brain the time to process, and you can bring it from all the way from that brainstem that's just operating at the most primal level, and bring it to the most sophisticated part of your brain, the frontal lobe. And when you do that, when you're in the frontal cortex, you have an opportunity to look at the multi-layers of a decision, not just say, oh, well, she's this way. That's where our judgmental stuff comes, I believe, is mostly from the brainstem. We see something, we make an observation, boom, there's a judgment. But not wise women. Wise men say, that looks like this, but let's give it a moment. Let's see how it is. Nobody likes being in the position of having a snap judgment placed upon us, but don't make one yourself. See, give ourselves an opportunity to develop our thoughts and what have you. We all judge books by the cover. We all make snap decisions all the time, but it doesn't mean that we need to stay with that. It just means that we need to say, it seems like this is the case, but let's just wait and see. That's giving your wisdom the opportunity to do it, right? That's giving your wisdom the opportunity to make the process happen. I just saw Susan said that she couldn't order L-glutamine. You can't just keep refreshing we're updating the store right now, so you might need to refresh, dump your cash or whatever. It's, that's how it is. The word compassion is one of the things too, that is one of the outcomes of wisdom. Compassion cannot be developed without wisdom. Now think about what that is. Compassion means that you're empathetic and you're wholehearted, and you are not just thinking with your head and saying, well, they should have known better, blah, 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 which in practical terms, true. But when you enter your heart and your brain at the same time, you develop compassion. Empathy, you stretch that empathy and develop your empathy muscle. I think in these days, there's nothing more important. We're so willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater and make these snap judgments. And look at how polarizing our whole culture has become. We don't need to be that way. We need to be the person instead who's kept our mouth shut and our hearts open. Think about that. And then we need to be listening. How many times have you just been around somebody who just yappity, 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 yap? And when you say something, they're not responding to you. They're instead just waiting for you to shut up so they can go back to their yappity, yappity, yap. I find one of the most, I had a relationship one time with somebody who we couldn't have an intelligent, heartfelt conversation because the conversation was when I said, well, this is how I feel, that person was just waiting for me to stop talking so they can continue on their soapbox of whatever. And that's not a conversation, that's a one-way sermon with you trying to interject on occasion. And it doesn't work like that. So if you're in a relationship with somebody that does this to you, one of the things that has really helped me is saying on the outset, because I know what this conversation is going to look like because I've been there before, and say, what I need from you is this. We're going to have this conversation. It's probably going to be difficult, and you might even be a little defensive, and I get that because I get defensive too. So can we make an agreement that this is what we're going to do instead? When I say something and let you know, this is how I'm feeling, these are my concerns and what have you, that you will agree to stop with your agenda. And if you need to write it down, get a paper and pencil and write it down, whatever you need. But I need you to hear what I have to say, and I need you to respond in kind. Not responding to what somebody else is saying is basically saying, I don't have to hear you. I don't listen to you. Being heard and listened to is an act of love. And it also shows your emotional intelligence and the wisdom that you have within. So do not be that person. And if you are with somebody who is like that, and I know a lot of women who have husbands who've done this to them, or partners or whatever, then you know how to unplug it first before you even get started in it. Because doing anything otherwise is a carousel of crazy. Thinking that this time it's going to be different without doing anything different shows no wisdom. You hear what I'm saying? This gives you an opportunity to switch directions. And some people will never get it. Can we agree on that? Some people will never get it. But that doesn't have to stop you from being the type of the type of woman who's dealing from a place of wisdom. That's important. And then there's this little element that I like to call nonconformity, because if you just are like all the other sheep in the herd and don't stand apart, and you just go along, however anybody else wants you to go and whatever anybody else is saying, there's a serious lack of understanding there, because you have not made your own decision. You've just gone along with the crowd because you just don't know what else to do. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. We need to become thinkers. If we are not thinking about something and saying, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't right. I don't need this. I need that. And you don't speak up for yourself, there's no wisdom in that. You have to. You have to. You can't just, be a part of the crowd and just sheepishly go along, pardon the herd mentality there, and not say anything. Wise women have voices. Wise women have voices, and they know how to, raise their hand and say something without being a shrew, without being awful, but still at the same point, expressing themselves and just themselves. Wise women don't say, you make me feel, you did this and you did that. It's not a blame game for wise women. Wise women understand the way that they feel. And that's what they're going to speak from. They're going to speak from their own experience and their own feelings. You understand that? That's a huge shift, and it needs to happen if you want to have a voice that counts and that matters and isn't just, wah, 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 Charlie Brown's teacher. No way. Don't do that. You need to be a thinker, not a stinker, Stinkers just sit there and just stink up the room, and they think all the nasty negative thoughts and say the nasty negative things, and it's a blame game. Who can I blame for this? You make me feel this way. You do this to me and you do that. Really? And what is that? Is that coming from a powerful place, or is that coming from a pitiful place? It's coming from a pitiful place. And wise women know the difference. Wise women stand up for themselves in a way that's about themselves, not everybody else, not shifting that blame. And wise women have a sense of humor. For heaven's sakes, if you can't laugh at yourself, and you can't laugh when you make a mistake or you do something, give it up. Give it up. When we have the ability to laugh, even in the times where it's difficult, we have the ability to get through things. I think God gave us a sense of humor. Think about it. God gave us a sense of humor so that we can get along with each other. He gives us a sense of humor so that people who are completely different than us, we can still make a little joke and laugh together. We can still enjoy each other's company, even though they're not exactly the same way that we are. Who knew? A sense of humor is a godsend. A sense of humor is something that comes from within. And being able to belly laugh with somebody is just, what a gift. And I will tell you, every Wednesday, Marla and I get together, and usually I'm with her for the hair appointment and going up, but this I can't because I have so many Hot Melt Club consultations this afternoon. It would just have been impossible to go up. So that's why I'm not there. But they're coming over tonight for dinner. And one of the things that I always look forward to is we do the little game, we do the heads up game. And it never fails that we belly laugh at something. And there's just a few things that I could say and get Marla belly laughing again, just because of our experience. But having a good old fashioned belly laugh, I mean, do you know what that chemically does to your body? And I believe that's a wise thing, is seeking out people that you can laugh with, seeking out people that have the same wacky sense of humor that you do, and making sure that that's part and parcel of who you are and who you hang out with. So for heaven's sakes, have a sense of humor. Don't be one of those dry people that just piece of toast. Not only do we not want the carbs, but we don't want to be like that. How boring. The other thing is, a wise woman has an open mind. Now, one of the things that I remember my pastor saying, you need to be open-minded, but don't be so open-minded that your brains fall out, which I loved, which means, anything goes, whatever, tell me anything and I'll believe it. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that, do we? You know what we want to do? We want to be open so that we can understand somebody of maybe a different culture. We want to be open so that we can understand somebody of a different point of view. And if you want to understand what polarizing is and being narrow-minded, it's when we look at politics, food, and religion. People shut down and it's my way or the highway, and you know what? Who wins in that? How does that benefit anyone? We can't love when we're shut down. We can't. We can't love when we live in this itty-bitty, teeny-weeny world that doesn't allow for others and other opinions. And Brenda's right. We can't empathize with people like that, people either, if we're that narrow. So being open-minded, I think when I think of open-minded, I think of arms stretched open. It's welcoming. We welcome people into our world. I mean, that have some sense, of course. We bring in the common sense on that. But we can't shut people out. We bring them in. You know this. I've told you this before. Marla and I are so opposite on the political field. We rarely talk about it. Every once in a while when we do, we'll just, we had a blast talking about the Democratic debates and what have you. But we both have, one, a sense of humor, and two, a big, open, generous heart toward one another. That's how you get through those things. And, while we're at it, Thanksgiving is a time where the polarity really comes to the table. And if that's what you're going to do, don't have people over to your house. And if that's what somebody that's on your invitation list is going to do, don't invite them. Or invite them and say, this is what it needs to be. But listen, you have the wisdom and the power to change the direction of where things like that go. It doesn't need to go to hell in a handbasket, but somebody needs to steer the ship, and somebody needs to lay down the rules. And it can be you. That's what wise women do, in a way that's generous and loving and caring. Wise women are also solution-oriented. I will tell you, if you really want to get on my last nerve, just complain. Complain and whine and retell all the tales of woe that you have. As I go through my consultations, and I read everybody's, they have a form that they need to fill out, and I'm doing this for all my Hot Milk Club people. And believe me, it's going to be a lot. There's 100 people there that I have a consultation with every single day. I've got a stack of them every single day. The minute that I see something that's whiny and sad and not taking responsibility for themselves, that is all problem-oriented and not solution-oriented, that's when I know this is how this consultation is going to go. I am going to take this apart and make sure that that's not part of the equation. Because here's something that happens to you. If you are problem-oriented and you want to relive and rehash out your experiences of all the bad things that have ever happened to you over and over and over and over again, you'll never get to the place of being solution-oriented. You won't be able to see that light through the trees. You'll be so focused on that one tree that's in front of you that you're going to miss the juiciness and the deliciousness that life has to offer you. It's that bad. It's that bad. So we can change that at any moment. We can just say, you know what? That's me. I have done that. I don't want to do that anymore. Get yourself a body clutter body. I'm going to talk about that 2 seconds. And tell them, this is a bad habit I have. Help me change the course of that. Help me change that. Because you don't have to be stuck with that. Nobody does. But if you don't have the wisdom to take a look and check what's going on inside of you, to see that this is a pattern that you've developed over the years, then you're going to miss out. You are going to miss out. And I don't want that for you. That's why we talk about these things on Wise Women's Wednesdays. And a wise woman is also very reflective. Like I just said, she reflects, what's going on in my life? What keeps showing up that I don't want? What is showing up that I do want? And how can I show up better in my own life? And you remember, I've told you before that, again, we are never going after perfection, but we are going after excellence. We're always going to try to shoot for the moon. And we shoot for the moon because we understand, and as we reflect on our lives, that this can be a level up. This can be better. We can do better with our food. We do the sprint. We can do better with our attitude. We wake up and we have gratitude for everything that's happening in our lives. We have an opportunity to constantly be flipping the switch when we are reflective and we look at our lives with those kind of eyes. And you have the opportunity to do that at any moment. At any moment. You're not stuck. You're not a tree. You can at any time shift and change things. And then we're also, wise women are unselfish. They give of their time and they give of their hearts and they give with wise words at the right time. And when I say that they give of their time, I'm not saying you say yes to everything, but you also have the ability to prioritize where your time goes. There was a time in my life when I was living, this is when I met Marla, Little House on the Prairie. I was a freelance writer doing a lot. I had at least 6 to 8 clients that I was working with at any one time, writing for a lot of trade magazines, a few other bigger magazines, and a lot online. That was my life. And after dinner, I would get right into my office, and I would write my little fanny off till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. That's how it worked. And then the next morning, I would get up exhausted and start all over again with the kids in a cluttered house, homeschooling with animals, 85 acres, hounds, the whole bit. It was a mess. And so I had to change all of that. And changing all of that meant that I had to look at what was going on. But one of the biggest things that I noticed with all of this mess and everything that was going on, and as I reflected on this is my life, I had too much going on with the kids. Their activities were out of control. And I only have 2 children. I can only imagine what it's like for people with 4 or more kids. And they had sports, they had outside activity groups with their homeschool group. And I finally decided this is what I'm going to do. I made Tuesdays and Thursdays are busy days, and then I cut everything off Monday, Wednesday, and Friday so that I could just have a grip on my life. I was tired of getting in and out of the car. I could never get anything done. Never, you can't. If you're all over the place, you can't stop to do anything well. You're just all over the place. And so when I did that, it meant that we had to get out of one of the sports that the kids were interested in. My daughter had Tuesdays and Thursdays, and my son had Mondays and Wednesdays, and at the same time, and driving in traffic, and it became too much. So I just said, you know what, guys, we're going to get out of this and we'll go into this instead. And it was a Monday, Wednesday thing, or a Tuesday, Thursday thing. And it was the same sport, same time, it just extended the time. So what? I brought snacks. It worked. But you have to do that. That's part of, you're undoing the craziness of your life and seeing exactly what this is. And living in a way that is, it's unselfish because you're putting your family first. You have to do things like that on occasion. And then you have to also, wisdom is found in willingness. Wisdom is found in the willingness to reflect upon your life and take a look at what isn't working anymore and what needs to change and what needs to flip. And we have the opportunity as long as we're honest with ourselves. And at any time you can just say, I keep seeing this happen in my life. And it's not the first time. It's not the third time even. There's got to be a better way. Sometimes the things that we need to do is we need to ask somebody a really honest question and ask for an honest answer. Because sometimes we can't see it forest through the trees. I just said it. But there's other times where it comes up and shows up in our lives, and we just have to be brave enough to look at it. I've said this 100 times, but when the light shines in the darkness, it's not nearly as scary. It's not nearly as scary. Our wisdom is there, you guys. It is there. It's there. It's hooked into our intuition, our common sense. It's hooked into our intellect. It's hooked into our brains and into our hearts. We just have to line it all up. And we also have to understand that our inside of us, it's our knowing. We all have the knowing that's inside of us. This is where I say, connect with your inner nutritional guru. She will not lead you astray. And you'll know exactly what to do with your own program. It will show up. Not all at one time, but little piece by piece. That's how it works. And it's from our willingness. It's from our openness. And it's from this place of being able to reflect on what's going on in our lives so we can make better decisions, so we can go forward excellently and have our lives start to unfold in a way that we're proud of it. We're proud of everything that we're doing in our lives, and we can help ourselves to grow, our families to grow, and our relationships to grow and be better. Everybody in this world has a purpose, and the ripple effect that we have with the people who are in our inner and outer circles, we never know. Occasionally I'll get an email from somebody who says, you know, I've watched you since 2001 when I first saw you, you know, blah, 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 whatever. I mean, just, you know, stuff, because I've been around for a while. And I never saw, wow, I never knew that I had that kind of an impact. And it always makes me feel like, you know, gee, gratitude. Thanks, God. Thanks for having my life mean something. And this is not just me. This is you too. This is all of us. And everything that we do has an impact on everyone else. It's like throwing a little pebble into this great big huge lake. The ripple effect goes way out, that little pebble does. And we're all little pebbles. And we're all thrown into the big lake of life, if you will, and having an effect on someone else. So keep that in mind. And I'll just say the last thing I want to say to you is this. Who you are shows up in what you do, not what you say. What you say needs to line up with what you're doing. So if you are someone who spouts off a lot of wise things and is doing nothing about it, then maybe it's time to just be quiet for a minute, reflect on your life, and start to put some action into those words. Okay? Put some actions into those words, because that's wise. That's how we affect change in our own lives and in the lives of others. We are little pebbles going out into the lake, and we have an effect on every single person who comes into our lives. Remember that. It's not just me. It's all of us. All right. Well, thank you for joining. Oh, wow. I didn't realize how late I went. Sorry about that. Thanks for joining me today. It's time for you to, a couple of things. Join me tomorrow. Oh, man. My calendar thing. Join me tomorrow. I'll be here at 1 o'clock. And as usual, every single day. And remember this too. The store is open. Get your supplements ordered now. Okay? Everything's in stock. Everything's in stock. Even if it says out of stock, which we are updating right now, everything is in stock and the new distribution center is open as of today. Free shipping. Hey. And if you're not a part of the sprint, come on. Are you a wise woman? Go to savingdinner.com/sprint and be part of this next sprint. This is going to be our third time around, and it is going to be a blast. You are going to have more cheerleaders on your side and more help than you can possibly count. And you want to hear something, which I have a big gratitude and thank you to say to everybody who's a part of my community. Thank you for being a part of my community and for knowing and for understanding exactly what's going on with our sprint and helping out your fellow sprinters, because I really appreciate it. I can't get to everybody at one time, but you guys can, and you are amazing, and I appreciate you. Thank you. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you tomorrow. Go get your supplements and go be a wise woman today. Bless you all. Peace.